JB Cycles here with the weekend video on November the 23rd. I still think the S&P will continue down into a correction low in December, but there is another possibility. You can see here my 17-week cycle is on the way down into this expected low, and earlier this summer, I drew this general scenario, what I was expecting. So we have to see now, how deep will this correction go? Will we make a lower shoulder, or can we make something more bullish? I'll come back to that. We have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is following the 4-week cycle. The S&P should do that as well, but has not been that good at it lately. The cycle made a low on November the 19th. And the markets tried to bounce there, but did not manage to do that so. And that can happen when the bigger cycles are bearish, which they are. Here's the 17-week cycle for Bitcoin. It is very similar to that one for S&P. Bitcoin likes to do these corrections with 1, 2, 3 waves going down, and actually they look like this. Here I have I'm comparing them, and this current one in orange, looking at the average right now compared with those previous, you see these are making a low. Well, I haven't plotted the dates here, but yeah, in mid-December would be the low for this correction. But the 4-week cycle is bullish this coming week. And I do expect Bitcoin to make a bounce and then should make a final low in December. But I have some different scenarios for S&P. We'll have to look at that. It's a bit confusing picture here. I had some questions about cycles. And, the 17-week cycle. What is that? Here is Jupiter and here is Venus. Now, here they are in conjunction with the Sun, and we have maximum tidal force working on the Sun. So when Venus starts to rotate or go in orbit in this direction, we see here's the distribution of strong geomagnetic storms at Earth. So Earth is not drawn in this picture. Anyway, when Venus comes up here, we see the dotted orange line. We see more strong geomagnetic storms, and when Venus continues into opposition, there are fewer geomagnetic storms, and the stock market cycle is the same. It is bullish in this first part and bearish in the next one, and so. Here we start a new cycle. Here we go away from this line, and we go away from it. We have the blue line. We have more geomagnetic storms, and at this point we are getting closer to the line, and then we have fewer geomagnetic storms. So this part is bullish and this is bearish. That is my explanation of what is behind this cycle. So here's the stock market cycle, and we have the 4-week cycle. What's that? Well, here is this is the solar wind. The green dot here is Earth, and the yellow one is the Sun, and what you see here is the solar wind. And this solar wind, it's rotating and it is repeating, and it is the cause of the 4-week cycle. So that was about cycles, but for the S&P I was looking for a repetition of these historical analogues. We had a failed breakdown and then an extension of the bull market of about 6-7 months, and these historical analogues pretty much illustrate the two scenarios I have from here. We have this one from 1965. So either, well, it's very easy to illustrate. You know, we have these two lows. S&P is now trying to find support at this horizontal support. And this analog from 1965 is suggesting that should fail. We should have further breakdown the next few weeks, and then the next bounce will give us a lower shoulder, and then the bear market has begun. The other option is this 1980 analog, and let's have a look at that one. It is here, and this one is suggesting that actually support will hold, and we could bounce up and then have this bigger topping formation before it finally breaks down. You know, this in 1980 was extremely long lasting. I think it would be a little bit shorter. If we look at it here, you know, this is my ideal scenario. I think if we now break down in the next few weeks, then this green one should be in play. But if support holds, we could get something like this. And you know, market will then hold up into this next 17-week cycle top. But it could be an early top, a bearish left translated top. So I wouldn't expect market to you know, stay up all the way into end of February, early March. But it could, you know, so sometime in February. So either now the downtrend begins now, or we could go sideways into February, and then we go down. As I showed you in my video yesterday, my longer term oscillations or waves or cycles or what you want to call it, they are suggesting a low around September, and that is where this 17-week cycle has a low around end of September maybe. Here are my wavelets for the S&P, and we are trying to find support at this bit of a magical moving average I have here in brown, and my primitive tool is this purple rectangle of 26 trading days, placing it at the wavelet top, and then with using bull market rules, the rules say don't expect a new uptrend before this rectangle is at the right end. So here, yeah, you could play longs for a bounce, but don't trust any bounce here before we get to the right end, and that is in about 2 weeks time. But if this is turning into a more bearish market, then the bull market rules no longer apply. Then actually we have this scenario, and I showed you this one frequently in April, when March, April, when markets crashed. And this one is suggesting we should, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we should have a further breakdown the next few days. Then we get the bounce, but it will only be a bounce of 3, 4, 5 days, and then the downtrend continues into the mid-December low. So that's the bearish alternative, you know, where this horizontal support does not hold. And I would say that's kind of my main scenario, but if this support actually does hold, then say we bounce up and make a double low in 2 weeks time, then we are into December, and then we could have the Christmas rally and some kind of a pullback in January, and then up to the final February high. It is possible. So at the moment I cannot really say for sure. So the cycle is bullish this coming week, the short-term cycle, but you know, this longer 17-week cycle is in the very bearish pot. So we'll have to see how this topping formation plays out. Bye bye.